Hey, despite the best efforts of those involved, folks, every once in a while, the masks really do come off, and I don't mean in a good way. Let's take a look at the video posted by Predator Catchers Indianapolis, in which Meta/Facebook manager of community development, Jeren Andrew Miles, has just been caught with his hand in the pedophile jar. Chris, play that video.
This is the one time I've done this.
The only time. Okay, so you are okay to talk sexual to 13-year-old Corey because you knew in your head that you would not meet up with him.
That was my rationale.
Okay. He asked you what you do. I am the head of a global community development for Meta. That's a pretty f***ing good job, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Huge, right? You make good money, right?
What was the title again?
I mean, what is your official title?
Manager of community development.
And you said, make out with you, touch you, suck you.
So let's get the first and foremost visceral reaction to this out of our systems all at once. Ready? You're a disgusting human being. Ladies and gentlemen, all one needs to do to gain some perspective on the trajectory of our society's shifting moral and ethical infrastructure is to flip randomly through the pages of history. There have been a number of civilizations down through the centuries, ancient Greece comes immediately to mind, in which the vagaries of normalized pederasty rear their ugly heads. And of course, it's no great surprise that those civilizations who participate generally come tumbling down in pretty short order. Correlation might not be causation, but to pretend that it's unrelated is folly. So you've got this dude who's a high-up muckety-muck at Meta/Facebook who just also happens to be a really big fan of kids, you know, in the wayward uncle sort of way. Those of us who recognize certain evils for the blight on humanity they are and who would happily supply the 10 or so feet of rope necessary to take care of the problem in an adequate fashion, we look at this and we see utter filth. And we're vocal about it, as we should be. It seems so freaking obvious to point out that a teenager doesn't even have a fully formed brain yet, so expecting that person to make life-altering decisions of a sexual variety is a non-starter. And yet here we are. These people do roam the highways and the byways and the information superhighway most of all. Now, this guy obviously needs to be ousted from his job. He even more obviously needs to be put behind bars for the rest of his life. And if your opinions sync with mine, that's a very short period of time, by the way, but let's talk for a minute about the bigger picture here. Most of you know with the same certainty I do that there's a push in our society to normalize this behavior. You see it here and there. Right now, the push is to make a distinction between people who have pedophilic tendencies and people who act on them. You know the difference? I think in a vacuum, there's an argument to be made there. If you're an adult and you're finding yourself overwhelmingly attracted to children, it does not follow that you must act on the things your brain is telling you to do. Now, maybe therapy can help, maybe not. And I know it flies in the face of all reason on the left and some on the right to suggest that a person whose sexual proclivities run into dangerous and, dare I say, evil realms should strongly consider leading a celibate life. I mean, God forbid, right? But I'm telling you right now, it does not end there. This will turn into us normalizing pedophilia. Remember, leftism doesn't care about anyone. It cares about power. Anyone and everyone, anything and everything is a potential tool of the left. The end is power, and the means is a subversion of any and every dominant paradigm. Now, I've told you this before 1,000 times, and I'm going to tell you 1,000 times more. In our lifetimes, I think it's likely that we will see a strong and possibly successful movement to decriminalize sexual acts with minors. God forbid it, but I believe it's true. It might sound crazy right now, but cast your mind back just a little ways and ask yourself what sounded crazy 20 years ago that's normal today. That's a frightening thought, but a necessary one. We have to fight this, folks, and we have to fight it smart. And the way you start to do that is to just suss out the patterns in their behavior. As for this Jeren Miles guy, he's a piece of shit. And he's a piece of shit who got placed on a very polished throne in a very elevated position. Do better, Zuckerberg, unless, of course, hiring him wasn't accidental. Now, you think I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. There it is, folks. It's out there. You be the judge.